Hello. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is another quick video in the series of interviews with a CTO. And today, I'm lucky enough to be here, or not here, but on the call with Ashley Ward, who is Cloud CTO of Palo Alto Networks. Those who don't know me or haven't seen any of these videos before, my name is Luke Hasty. I am part of the team at Nuaware. What we do is we help enterprises adopt cloud native technologies. So I'm lucky enough to get to speak to people who are in the know about some of the new up and coming technologies. So on that note, I'm here with Ash. I've known Ashley a fair while, actually, through working for different companies and customers and things like that. But yeah, Ash, would you mind just giving a quick intro, quick overview of your background? How did you end up where you are at the moment?
Yeah, thanks, Luke. So I guess I started out as an operations guy back in the day. In fact, it was a Unix admin was my first job in IT. And then I moved into infrastructure architecture, which is also pretty operational, if we're honest. And as part of that, though, was then involved in sort of dev enablement for a media company, which was really exciting. It was my first chance to really experience how the big servers that I was playing with actually impacted what the business were trying to do, and I really liked that. And so that was the start of the DevOps stuff. That was quite a while ago now. And then I moved into financial services for a little while, where it was really bringing in DevSecOps. I got involved with a startup there with Twistlock. I bought them in as a customer, ran it for a while. And then I joke that, like the man from Gillette, I kind of went, oh, I love this, I'm going to buy the company. And then found out I couldn't afford the company, and so instead came and worked for Twistlock. And then moved into Palo Alto Networks as part of an acquisition. So I'm now part of the Prisma Cloud group inside. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, we had some good times as part of Twistlock, and now carrying on as part of Palo Alto Networks. So great to have you here. Thank you very much. First question: what does a cloud CTO do at Palo Alto Networks?
A good question, and probably something that's worth clearing up. So as part of Palo Alto Networks, we've got part of a product there that's the Prisma Cloud suite. And what we do is we're operating that as a kind of like a startup within the company, because we want to keep that fast movement and the momentum that's there. So I'm Cloud CTO for Prisma Cloud. So before Nir Zook, our real CTO for the whole of Palo Alto Networks, phones me up and says, are you pretending to be me? I'm not a CTO of the whole of Palo Alto Networks. I'm Cloud CTO specifically within that Prisma Cloud area. And what that means is I am not driven by sales, so it's not financially benefited by sales, apart from the company getting bigger, of course, as part of that. And I'm a bridge between customers and Palo Alto Networks and Prisma Cloud. So I get to speak to lots of people. I get to do lots of talks. I get to evangelize about a product that I believe in. So I having worked with me, you know that I get quite passionate about containers and about cloud native technologies. And that's really what this Cloud CTO and Prisma Cloud does. So I cover the EMEA region and get to speak to lots of customers and partners and distributors and all that kind of stuff.
Lovely. And yeah, I'm grateful you do. So cloud being mentioned a lot, right? Palo Alto Networks, one of the largest security companies on earth. From your point of view, from a security perspective, what do you see as the main challenges facing organizations that are moving to the cloud?
The first one is going to always be probably buzzwords, but the main thing is that if you break cloud down, I break it down into three parts. I'd say that there's cloud services like SaaS services, so Gmail, someone using their email, something like that. It's a fully hosted service. The next part would be that kind of traditional infrastructure as a service, so using cloud infrastructure. So that could be spinning up VMs in the cloud or other services that are there. And then the third part of cloud, when we talk about cloud and IT, I think it's worth calling out, is actually a way of working. It's making use of tools, cloud native technologies, and doing things in a cloud native way. The Cloud Native Computing Foundation actually don't call out using public cloud. It's just this way of working. So that could be on premise as well. And it's worth calling that out because certainly in enterprises and big organizations, you do see people saying, oh, we're using the cloud. All right, but is that because you're using Workday or Salesforce? Or is that, no, we're using the cloud our own private internal cloud where we're running Kubernetes and containers and stuff like this, because it's all true. It's just different things. So it's a big, it's the most challenging thing is working out, well, what is it that we're doing when we say this cloud thing? And then applying those, best practices to it. And there are some changes there, but the biggest thing for me is, from a security point of view, would be people going, right, what do we have? What are we using and who's responsible for it?
Oh yeah, well that leads me on to my next question, which is how does this compare to traditional security? What are people who have been domain experts in security for 15 years in their organizations, who have a lot of knowledge? What does this shift to moving in cloud or cloud native architectures or ways mean for them? How do they apply what they know? How do they what implications are there going to be for traditional security with this move?
Yeah, and so the basic concepts around security haven't changed. All that expertise that people have, they're still going to be able to apply that to whatever of those cloud parts that we've talked about. The bit where it gets difficult is that there's now new possibilities about how to do things. So I would speak to people in security, and people in security who have been there for a while know that they want to control and secure the whole life cycle of things. They want to have been able to secure everything that's running on every individual operating system that that's part of their estate. But there was what people want to be able to secure and keeping a business functional. And it was very difficult to do all that kind of thing. So what I would say to somebody who's in that space and was coming into this world is go, you do have the domain expertise. It just needs to now be applied in this cloud way. So if that's of those three cloud servicey things, if it's SaaS services, then it is. It's asking the questions for auditability. And even if it's not their responsibility to secure that information, or maybe it's their responsibility, but not their capability to do that, it's whoever supplies that, they've still got the right questions to ask of that provider. Where's my data being stored? I've got data sovereignty questions around that and all that kind of good stuff. Then if it's lift and shift, where it's just infrastructure in the cloud, I say just, but people putting stuff into the cloud, there's still all that best practice that's there. So that's where somebody from a security background would be able to come in and go, oh, okay, I now have visibility of all this stuff. If you're using the tools to give you visibility of the cloud, and say, right, well, shouldn't we secure that? That shouldn't talk to the internet. This should be like this. They have that knowledge. And the thing is that people who have been putting things into the public cloud like that haven't deliberately been leaving things open. They've just not had that domain expertise or know-how on how to do it. So I think there's a lot there. And the final thing on that, I know I'm kind of wittering on, me, I always like to talk. The final thing on that would be that third cloud native way of working. And this, I think, is the biggest and most difficult thing for a security person to come into. And I say that being an operations guy who came into DevOps, it's a weird and wonderful world. I mean, when things are so ephemeral, you have teams who are enabled and able to choose their own tools. For me, it felt like as soon as a tool went to version 0.01, we didn't use it anymore. That was too mainstream. There was so many new tools coming along. And so as a security person coming into that world, it's very easy to go, this is just crazy. We shouldn't do it. So it's always worth bearing in mind, why are people operating that way? What's the benefit to the business? And how can I, as a security expert, bring that in there?
And talking about tooling, obviously Prisma Cloud from Palo Alto Networks, they've got this idea of a cloud native application protection platform. So can you just give a quick overview of what that is? Because that's not something I'd come across anywhere else. And how is it assisting people with making those moves and bringing that security knowledge into the cloud world?
Yeah, you're right. It's not a phrase that's in use a lot. I think Gartner are now picking up on it. It was we used to always say cloud native security platform because we were the first ones in that space. But regardless of what we call it, and cloud native application protection platform now being the thing, what this comes down to is if you look at that space, about the space of protecting SaaS services, protecting all the different stuff in public cloud, and if you think about the public cloud providers who are wonderful bringing out new services and awful at the same time for bringing out all these great new services, it's very difficult for people to keep up and secure all of those. They've then got the cloud native way of working and all the different stuff that's in there. And you only need to look at the thousands of security tools that are out there and lots of different vendors on this that will have products that protect each little bit in that. So we used to say cloud security posture management. Okay, how secure is my my AWS account? How do I report on that? Okay, well, I could use the native tools for that one, the native tools for my Azure account. Oh, great, we're now using Google. Now I need to think about and skill up for that. You then have the cloud workload protection platform. And I know they're silly sounding things, but these are Gartner terms, so that's why we pick on those ones. Cloud workload protection platform is saying, okay, you've got stuff that's actually going to run in there and might move between clouds. How do you protect that thing, the actual workload that's there? And so you've got these two different large pieces, each with lots of vendors in that space. And kind of what Palo Alto Networks did was go, this is going to be really difficult to properly secure. And for a SOC, a security operations center, they're going to look at this and go, how many more tools have I got? And just have noise. And it's almost less secure because you're getting, yeah, I got told about all this bad stuff, but I couldn't do anything about it. And so they came along and went, right, we need to protect all of this stuff. So cloud security posture management, great. Here are the best in breed tools that are going to do that. Cloud workload protection platform, great. Best in breed tools that are going to do that. That includes things like serverless functions, of course, containers and VMs and all that kind of stuff. Bring that all together as one product and say, right, we've got, the world's, I think we're leading cybersecurity company, but even, a big cybersecurity company that's got the domain expertise in security and saying, right, and here's the product, you use this product and we're covering the whole thing. And that really resonates with people. And that's where, cloud native security platform came around. And now that's been picked up and Gartner is picking that up, cloud native application protection platform. And it's because you need something, or you need to have that confidence and be able to cover all the different accounts that you'd be using, all the different services in those accounts, and all that different cloud native way of working and tools and techniques that are in there.
Actually, it sounds wonderful. Sounds lovely. It's all encompassing. I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit, and it sounds like it's going to impact a lot of things, touch a lot of things, and potentially generate a fair amount of that noise that you were talking about. If I am a security architect or a DevOps platform lead or someone at a large enterprise, how difficult is something like this to implement, and what are the short-term or immediate benefits that I can see, so I can go back to my boss and ask her about, can I have budget for this, and explain that this is where we're going to improve some of our security posture. What's the short-term gains?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing is visibility. And so visibility into all the different things that are out there that are running. And oftentimes when I've worked with customers in the past who are doing the same thing as you're saying, we kind of feel we need some security in here, but we're not sure. And even your platform it's probably going to be too much for us. We don't need all of that. And actually when they have visibility in everything that they're doing, then there is, oh, wow, I didn't realize. In fact, I was on a call with a customer yesterday and they went, oh, you've just shown us a whole load of stuff that we hadn't even considered that's there. And that's part of the thing. So from a short-term point of view, just visibility into everything that's running, being able to see everything from the configuration of the cloud accounts, right the way through to all the services that are in there, what they're communicating with. We can consume network flow logs to show, well, these are talking to the internet, these are talking to suspicious IPs, and mapping all that out in a way that you can consume, across those different accounts. And then right the way through to going, oh, that's how my serverless functions are doing things. That full range of visibility is the first thing. So that usually is what people see and get immediate value out of. And you'll get that in less than a day. And oftentimes, depending on the size of the environment, you're talking about an hour and you'll see all this information. But say a day for everyone. That's the first thing that comes out. And then the second part, which is really important, and it's worth really driving home about our product, but really if you're looking at any tool that claims to be cloud native application protection platform, is automation. So if your tooling is purely from a security centric point of view and saying, thou must use my tools, you will submit a request, we will scan and all this kind of thing, then it's not going to be able to keep up with that cloud native way of working. It's not going to keep up with the ephemeral nature of cloud services and stuff that's out there. So automation is the next part. And that's where, when I speak to security people, visibility into everything. When I speak to that DevOps person, it's, well, you don't need to change your tooling. You know, the security is going to be with you and with you stuff you're doing. So you're able to get that feedback immediately, regardless of if team A is using Jenkins, team B is using something else. We're wanting to shift all of that, shift it left. I know that everyone rolls their eyes when we keep saying the buzzwords, but it is, right? So if we can enable the people who are empowered, and we enable the people who are the ones responsible for the application, and we have security that's wanting to be part of that, it makes everything a lot easier. So it's a two-pronged thing that I find that security people see that, they get all the visibility from it. DevOps people can see that this isn't going to slow them down and actually helps. And then ultimately the budget owner can then say, well, I've got everything's met with this. So it becomes a no-brainer.
Excellent. And that leads me on to my final question. So firstly, thank you very much, Ash. But if I was a security architect or someone responsible for security at an enterprise, and CIO has just mandated we're going all in cloud, having gone through this experience yourself of starting on-prem and now moving into CTO of Prisma Cloud, any messages or any words of encouragement for someone in that sort of position? Is this something they need to be worried about? Is this something that they should embrace? Is there any best practices that you'd advise them on?
So the first thing I'd say, and there was a recent thing I saw on Twitter, which was about organizations being resistant to change. What do you see the biggest the biggest problems with DevOps enablement? I can't remember the question, but it was the biggest one was an organization that was resistant to change and lack of top-down leadership on that. So it's very easy in an organization for someone to say, right, we're going cloud first. And for that to be sort of dictated and people not to understand why and the rationale. And so are then looking for what the easiest thing is to achieve whatever the boss man said. What I would say is if you're, as an architect going into this, and from the experience of doing that, is recognize, well why, what's the position that we're coming from? Why are we saying cloud first? And what does that mean? If we're saying cloud first and the rationale is, well, they just want cost savings. Okay. Well, in which case is that could be a cloud first mentality. That could be a way of saying we will burst into the cloud and come back to on-premise. Or it could be, how does that organization want to achieve it? And I know that it's kind of wishy-washy, but honestly, it's one where you sit down with people and you say, right, we're cloud first, but I don't know what that means. Okay, well, what does the company want to achieve? Genuinely, most companies now are realizing that if they don't transform digitally and if they don't have that high rate of change to be able to accommodate all the different things that they want to achieve, then they're going to be left behind. And so their competitors take over. And we've seen this, when I was in financial services, we saw it. And I remember that was a few years ago, and people then were saying, well, it'll never happen. You'll always do this. And you just need to look at the fintech revolution and everything that's going on there. That we are in a digital world, right? And the recent events have really highlighted a big shift into cloud practices and ways of working. So I would say try and recognize in yourself as an architect why the business wants to do this. The business wants to do it because they want to survive as a business, be agile, be footloose, take advantage of cost savings, all that kind of stuff. And then I would preach that internally in the organization and say, right, why are we doing this? Oh, we're doing it it will cost more money to run in the cloud. Yes, it will if we don't change the way of working. So I'd say sit down, recognize why you're doing it, and then the rest does fall into place. Think about what you want to spend your effort doing and what you should instead put out to a vendor. Obviously, I'm going to say that as a security vendor, but that was actually what happened to me. I looked at it and went, I cannot afford to spend dev cycles on securing stuff. I should just get an expert to do that part. I should spend dev cycles on making the company footloose, making the company achieve its goals.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. Ashley, it's been great to speak to you. Everybody else, thank you very much for joining us, and watch out for Ashley speaking at events and webinars over the next months, and hopefully more CTO interviews from us here at Nuaware. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks.